Hello, and welcome back to our podcast, The Boss Ravioli Queens. We are Boss Lady Amy,
Nicole Ravioli,
and Jasmine the Queen.
And we are healthcare workers who decided we are going to spill all the ravioli on the ins and outs of working in healthcare.
This isn't your usual podcast. If you came here for health and beauty tips, you're gonna be disappointed because we are gonna get messy.
Every other week, we will feature a different topic that dives into the not-so-talked-about, taboo, and just plain underbelly of healthcare. We will talk about what it's like being a caregiver outside of work and all the struggles that come with it. Just trying to be normal, everyday people.
On that note, let's
get
messy.
Warning, this podcast includes profane language, crude humor, mature subjects, and possible talk of bodily fluids. This may not be suitable for listeners under the age of 18. This episode is called The Traumas That Made Us. So in this episode, we are going to be talking about how basically every caregiver we know, including ourselves, has been through some sort of trauma which has led us to take care of other people.
Mm-hmm.
Long pause. For dramatic effect.
I literally thought you were gonna, start going into it right away.
I'm so sorry. Oh. So basically, I personally don't know a single caregiver that has not been through some sort of serious traumatic event in their life.
Mm-hmm.
Even the people that have gotten hired as caregivers that are flat right out of high school have trauma.
Whether it's family or friends or past relationships or something that makes you feel beaten down and defeated, yet for some reason it brought you back to being able to take care of other people, and it makes you feel it's rewarding because
Exactly.
a lot of those people genuinely care that you're there to take care of them.
I mean, for me, that's why I do it. I think most of the caregivers that I know who have gone through something have said that they do it because it's rewarding.
Well, for me, my whole family has been a CNA or a caregiver at one point in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my mom was a nurse, so...
Yeah, and I mean, the area that Jasmine and I grew up in is primarily a healthcare town.
Yeah.
You pretty much need a job in healthcare, otherwise you're in a grocery store, retail.
It's literally like healthcare on almost every corner, I swear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I was essentially made into a caregiver. I had to do a lot of things that I shouldn't have had to do at a really young age, and because of that, I felt like it just prepared me for that.
Same here.
I mean, for me, I guess I'll get into, the personal side a little bit. So, growing up, my grandpa had lung cancer, and he was also with a woman who had ovarian cancer, and they took care of each other for as long as they could, but eventually both of them had declined so much that they couldn't even take care of themselves. So my grandpa ended up moving in with me and my family, and of course my mom, being a home health aide and everything and a CNA, she knew what to do, took all this time off work to take care of him. I gave him my room, so I literally slept on the couch for a month and a half out of the summer, because it happened during summer break. And there was times that I was interested in helping. Who doesn't want to help your sick grandpa? So,
Right.
True.
So that's kind of how my path as a caregiver started. But it was very traumatic for me, obviously, because I was only 13 and my grandpa is literally just dying slowly day by day.
I guess I can get a little bit personal. I mean, mine basically started with my mom being a nurse, and it already kind of interested me in taking care of other people and stuff like that. But what really I think set it off is the fact that my mom had some problems of her own or whatever, so which caused me at a young age to have to do things for her that I really shouldn't have had to do at that age. my dad wasn't around all the time because of his job and his work and stuff. So then sometimes it was just me and my mom at home, and she wasn't always okay to like be around. So I would like sometimes my grandparents would have to come get me and such. But I guess that's kind of what set me on the path of caring for other people or whatever, and making sure like stuff like that wouldn't happen to anybody else's loved ones.
Yeah. I mean, you're both looking at me, so I guess I have to get a little personal now. I mean, for me, there was just certain people in my life that just always needed to be taken care of, even when I was like really young. And it was kind of a situation of like, nobody else is going to do it, so I had to step up to the plate at a really, really young age. And I had to do a lot of things that kids just shouldn't have to do. And so by the time I was actually an adult, it was like, well, I've already been doing this for so long, I might as well go get paid for it. Like,
No kidding.
Right? Oh, the heavy stuff.
Yeah.
All right, so moving
my gosh.
on. Moving on from that, I think it's important that we discuss that not only do we have trauma, and I know we mentioned it in one of the other episodes, possibly the first one, I think, that most of our residents also have severe trauma that they have been through.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, we can relate to them in a lot of ways, but they don't know that we've been through our own personal trauma because you don't discuss that with them.
No.
Right.
Because it's our job to take care of them.
Right.
And they're going to think, like, oh, you've been through something traumatic just like me, so...
But also it's because, I mean, you don't necessarily want to share too much of your life with your clients or your patients or anything, because you also probably don't want it, like, trauma and stuff like that or issues that you've had in your life spread around to other people.
Right.
Correct.
Like, they don't understand sometimes, and sometimes they'll just talk about it with other people, and I don't think anybody wants that.
Probably not.
I think sometimes it's really hard, like, if a resident is telling me something that happened to them and, like, something very similar happened to me, and I'll be like, you know, I really get it. And they'll be like, no, you don't. Like, no, I really get it. We can't get into it, but I really get it.
Right, well, that also jumps back to, like, not sharing your personal lives with the residents as well. Like, it's one of the cardinal rules. You can have, like, your worker-client relationship, but you can't delve into that much with them.
Yeah,
Sometimes that's really hard to do.
Really hard.
Like, if you're just holding it in and you want to just let it all go, and you're like, but I can't, because we're not friends.
Exactly. Like, I'm here to take care of you, so you just vent it out, honey.
Right. Just know that I really understand.
Right.
Okay, well, this episode seems to be heavy all the way around, so...
It's like I'm reliving my past.
I know, same. Like, PTSD, bro.
Obviously, everybody's trauma. My God. Everybody's trauma isn't the same or whatever. So, like, I mean, there's plenty of different reasons that people have chosen to be caregivers. I mean, if anybody can relate, we'd love to hear what you have to say, or like what you think caused you to become a caregiver. If you're willing to share, that'd be great to hear from anybody who's listening.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We love stories. We love comments, questions, concerns. None of us are okay.
Literally none of us are okay. We got it together on the outside, though.
Emotional damage.
Oh, gosh. I feel like this is
We
also...
all got it.
This is also a great time to talk about trauma-informed care.
That's a wonderful idea. Good
So,
old TIC.
that tick training.
Tick training.
So basically what trauma-informed care is, it teaches you how to care for residents with trauma. how you can relate to them, but also keep your personal stuff personal. Dealing with residents who have been assaulted in a sexual manner. There's a lot of talk of that because unfortunately in our field that is very, very common and it's disgusting, and I don't know why anybody would ever do that to someone with a mental deficit, but hey, it happens really kind of a lot. And I don't know, I'm missing points of this, so I need your help.
So, a really important part of trauma-informed care is how to care for someone physically who has a lot of SA trauma.
Yes.
Specifically women. I mean, obviously it happens to men too, but it does happen to females a lot. So, like, I know one of the things that we're taught kind of, I guess, universally is like how to put on a bra without touching their chest, or like how to do like pericare, which is basically just washing someone's private area without, you know, obviously getting too personal, or just like providing privacy. Like if they can dress themselves, handing them their clothes and letting them do it themselves while you step out of the room, sort of thing.
Or if they need to be watched or whatever, like turning your back, but just enough so you can still have your peripherals.
Yeah, that's what I learned to do a lot is, like, I mean, you know, as a man in healthcare, sometimes, you know, like, a lot of the women don't want a man around to, like, watch them, like, while they're getting dressed or whatever. So, like, as much as they can do, I'll let them. Obviously, like, if I do have to help them, or if I'm supposed to watch them while, like, maybe they're in the bathroom or something, sometimes I'll do something as simple as, like, setting them up, making sure they're safe and stuff, and, like, being like, okay, I'm gonna give you privacy, and I'll, like, go to, like, walk out of their bathroom, but in reality, I'm, like, kind of outside the door enough where I can see them, but they can't see me.
Right. Another really important one is always telling them what you're gonna do next. Don't just start doing something. And I know that a lot of us fall into really bad habits, especially if it's something you do all the time, you forget to tell them. But it's really important to tell them, especially if it is someone who's triggered really easily, because sometimes they'll be like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Yeah.
So it's really important to be like, okay, I'm going to give you your shirt, then I'm going to help you put it on, then I'm going to do this. And I know it gets repetitive, but sometimes it's important for them.
I've even had residents, like, get physical with me. Right. Like, they'll try to hit you or smack you, especially if you don't tell them what you're doing. Like, it helps to tell them what you're doing, but if they themselves are not prepared and they're not ready for it, then it's inevitable sometimes.
I kind of have a little story about that too, because I actually worked with a guy that he was usually, like, pretty cooperative or whatever, but you'd go to get him up or, like, do his cares or whatever, and you tell him what you were doing, but he was very forgetful and confused. He was like a veteran that was in a home now, and every time you would do cares, you would explain it to him. And then as you start doing it or whatever, after you just explained it to him or whatever, he'd be like, what are you doing to me? So then you'd have to re-explain it again. So you'd have to, like, keep going over it or whatever. And then he'd be like, okay. And then he'd be like, what are you doing to me? But he was still cooperative. It was a little funny, but...
Yeah. I think that's a good point too, with people with dementia and then people who have, like, assault trauma on top of that can be really, really hard to deal with.
Very touch and go.
Yes, especially, like, well, it's traumatic for them because they're basically reliving it, just trying to, like, brush their teeth or whatever. And then that's something that you take home with you. Like, that's not something that you get to just leave at work.
Nope.
I've had many times where I've come home just bawling because, like, one of my residents who has dementia has gone through something really traumatic, and, like, they don't know what's going on, and they don't understand. You're just trying to help them.
Yeah. That reminds me of another little thing. There's a lady that I've worked with pretty recently that has dementia, and she... for her, she used to take care of her parents and everything, and her parents died like a long time ago, but once in a while she will like go back to that or whatever and basically relive the trauma of her parents passing away and going to their funeral and stuff. So once in a while she'll just be sad and she'll be just like, she'll think that they're getting buried tomorrow and that it just happened, and in her mind it's really real, like it literally just happened and she just lost her parents even though it was however long ago.
That's so sad.
Yeah,
That is very
it
sad.
like breaks
that.
my heart every time, and she was basically reliving it like probably at least a few times a week.
That's
Oh.
horrible.
So time for some of that dark humor. So when you're working with people that have been SA'd, it's important that you make jokes with them while you're like dressing them or showering them. Like you go to put like their pants on and you say, "Hey, I'm just gonna put your pants on quick," and then while you're doing that, you like, "Oh look, you've still got 2 legs. Oh hey, 10 toes." Like you just have to find a way to make light of it. As I said in the first episode, it sounded really bad then, and it still sounds bad to say that you have to make light of it, but now you guys know what I was talking about.
Another thing that can be traumatic for them is like when something happens to them and they get really embarrassed, like they fall or they have a change in condition. That's something that you have to make sure you're keeping light to. Like say someone gets a catheter bag and they hate it and they always talk about how much they hate it, and you have to be like, wow, that's a cool bag you're carrying around.
Or it could be
Wish I had one of those.
Or it could be something just as simple as like they used to not be incontinent, like they wouldn't wet themselves, but now they do, and they feel embarrassed about it. And you gotta always reassure them like that can be traumatic for them. You always have to reassure them that like it's fine, or like kind of make a light of it a little bit. I'll do something as stupid as it's just like once in a while, if I really gotta go, I'll pee myself a little bit too.
I've told people so many times, do you know how often this happens to me? Like,
Definitely.
and they love that. They
I pee
love
when
that
I
we
sneeze.
can relate to them.
You got mom bladder going on?
I know I do.
No, that's boss lady Amy over there's got my bladder.
Oh, mom bladder.
Y'all, I have COVID bladder.
Oh,
Like, the coughing is ridiculous.
sneeze, cough, talk, breathe, anything.
Guess you better work on those Kegels some more.
And believe it or not, y'all, she's the youngest.
Oh, that sucks, because I'm the oldest. Jasmine is the middle child. And boss lady Amy over here, she the youngest. She's the prize.
I'm the most loved.
Oh,
You think so? Delusional.
Middle kid syndrome.
good lord. So other forms of trauma, obviously it doesn't have to be SA, so they could have had like gotten beaten at one of the homes that they've been in or by a family member. Wow, that was some movement. We got Jasmine punching air
Yeah,
over
Jasmine
here.
was just showing us how she just
Lays the smack
she
down.
lays it down.
What was that you said about Amy? Oh, Jasmine on the top ropes. Jesus. Anyways, so obviously there's physical trauma. There's also mental trauma. And sometimes those also go hand in hand. But like if someone has been verbally abused and told that they're the most lowest piece of garbage on the entire earth, like, and they're told that repeatedly, they're going to believe that. So our job is to make them believe that they are not that and that they are worth something, because they are.
For sure.
Like, some of my residents, beaten down so bad, told they were worthless, like, just weren't going to amount to anything, weren't going to go anywhere in life. And I'm like, look at you now. You got a job. Like,
look at you now.
You get to leave the house by yourself. Like, there are things that these people do that nobody would have ever expected.
Right. Like, they come a long way.
And it's really nice that we get to be able to share that with them and, like, encourage them on their bad days, too. That's the rewarding part of caregiving.
Seeing their journeys, like, especially if you have someone who, like, just had a surgery or something, and, like, seeing them go through, like, recovery is just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And praising them for, like, it's baby steps, but I know they think that it's not, but it is, and it's huge.
Something I always tell people, even, like, not my residents, is you have to appreciate the small victories. Because literally, something so small, like, especially for people who have mental illness of some sort, like, whether that be depression, bipolar, whatever, just simply getting out of bed and, like, brushing your teeth, that's a small victory.
Mm-hmm.
It may be small, but it is still a victory, and you should celebrate that shit.
I have residents who have very serious, like, psychiatric issues, and sometimes, like, say another resident's being mean to them or something, and they'll come up to you afterwards and they'll be like, I didn't freak out, I didn't lose it, and I'm like, that's amazing, you need to be so proud of yourself.
Absolutely. And I feel like people don't appreciate the small victories enough. Sorry, Jasmine's being the queen that she is over here.
Taking selfies and everything. Just did a snapsy.
Ooh, get it? Anyways, like I was saying, I just feel like a lot of people don't appreciate the small victories enough. And it's taken me a long time to get to the point where I am with that even. Like, yo, I do have depression, so that's a thing. You guys will find out in later episodes more about us and some personal things. But the only thing I'm going to share right now is that I have depression and anxiety, so hell of a combo. And there are days where I literally have to just force myself to get out of bed, and even if I don't have time to shower before work, I'm still going to work. That's a small victory in itself.
Yeah, it's part of, like, my depression too, like, forcing myself out of bed some days. I just, like, sometimes I just don't want to do it. Like, sometimes you're just so drained and just don't want to, and I still force myself to get up anyway.
That's a victory.
A small one.
What did I just say?
I know.
Appreciate that shit, bitch. Oh, wow. This episode did get heavy.
It did.
But you know what?
It was needed, though.
It was.
It was.
Because I feel like this just isn't talked about enough in our world or, like, in general.
It isn't.
It's not.
Because, I mean, if you really think about it, honestly, like, we're so used to taking care of people and stuff, like, other people, making them feel better, that, like, sometimes we don't step back and take, like, a second for ourselves.
Accurate.
Like, we don't really look at, like, things that we're going through and that we need to work on, or things that we're struggling with. And sometimes it's nice, not everybody has this, but, like, some people, like, maybe work so much they don't have friends, like, that they can talk to about it, like, to, like, make themselves feel a little bit better, or, like, get some clarification.
Right.
So.
And, like, Amy has, like, gushed about it so much, but I'm gonna gush about it now. Like, I am so thankful that I have both of you. Because honestly, without you guys, I don't know where I would be right now. Especially going through what I recently went through.
I'm so grateful for you guys.
Don't make me cry!
I have makeup on.
I was gonna say, don't ruin it!
Bitches, what are you talking about? It's all waterproof. Ain't gonna cry.
We love you too.
Ain't gonna cry no makeup off.
We love you.
I love you guys too.
I love both of you.
Oh.
Air hugs.
Air hugs.
No, but that really does make it so much better. If you can find a couple people at your job, especially if you're a caregiver, to become friends with, absolutely do it. The more people you have to relate to with this line of work, do it.
Sometimes you just need to vent about it. whether it's like about the working or sometimes, I mean, there's even like those difficult clients that you want to vent about a little bit. Just don't use their names.
Yeah, right. Do you know Billy Bob Joe?
This one guy really just pissed me off today, and I need to tell you about it, otherwise I'm gonna freak out.
You know what really grinds my gears?
Client X.
I feel like that just needs to be like a new segment. You know what really grinds my gears?
I think that'd be copyrighted because it's Family Guy.
Oh, damn. Well, we'll call it something else. We're creative.
You know what really gears my grinds?
You know what really grinds my ravioli?
It's done. New segment. Alright, well, I think we've talked about enough heavy things, so it's safe to say we can wrap it.
I think so.
Use protection.
Use protection.
Always.
Don't be a fool. Wrap your tool. Practice safe sex, everybody.
Also, your hands when you're doing cares.
Yes! Glove up.
Glove up. Wrap your dick, wrap your hands.
Alright, you guys. Bye!
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 This has been the Boss Ravioli Queens podcast with your hosts, Boss Lady Amy,
Nicole Ravioli.
And Jasmine the Queen.
Thank you so much for spilling your ravioli with us.
Don't worry, we'll serve you more next time.
Until next time, go wash your ass!